In the darkest corner of Tryora lied the eternal prison of Hello. This realm was a place created by the gods to hold anyone they saw as a threat. Crazed monsters, scientists who defied the natural order, mortals who tried to bring Gornolia to fruition. Everyone there had made themselves known to the gods, and would spend centuries regretting it, going through several floors, each with torments that would end their life in any other realm, over and over again. Nothing found on these floors could kill you. Every realm has its rules, and in Hollow, you can recover from any injury as long as your spirit stays strong. The only way to perish is to give up and fade away. So for someone as stubborn as Sabeo, the only human prisoner, his suffering was eternal. Sabeo was currently on the layer Thorn, an unending jungle where trees blocked out most of the light and got its name from the thorns covering every square centimetre. No vine would ever stay still. With the lack of light, you would be forgiven of thinking it was just your mind seeing things. However, if a vine was able to catch you, it would not let go. The thorns would pierce into your skin, and if you were lucky, that would be your only concern. Some vines had poisonous tips, the toxins causing an intense burning pain throughout your body. And no matter what, do not touch the mushrooms. Sabeo walked through this place like it was his local park. He had been stuck on this layer for a couple years and had learned Thorn's tricks while trying to uncover every corner of this realm for an exit. Every layer had hidden paths that would lead to a new form of torture. It may seem pointless, but Sabeo believed this labyrinth of layers had some kind of end. He needed to believe that. Sabeo had spent hours on his feet, and although he knew this place well, it only took one misstep to be caught. A vine slowly extended out around his leg, where it predicted he would step. He pulled against it, but it was already too late. The pockets on his clothes faded long ago, but Sabeo was able to carve one into his own flesh. He pulled out the tooth of a slain creature, and began using it as a knife to cut through the greenery. This plan failed, as a separate vine was ready to grab him by the arm, stopping the makeshift knife from making any further progress. Sabeo had to think. If he wasn't quick, he would be suspended in the air, with sharp thorns piercing his skin until the plants withered and decayed enough for him to break free. Sabeo began to stomp on the vine with his free leg, in spite of the sharpness. This weakened the bind on his left leg, but also made his right leg a target. With his free hands, the human ripped a thorn from the vine and began making small cuts in the bind that held his arm. The thorn was too shallow to free his hand, but it was a start. Eventually, he was out of time, and the vines made their way across all four of his limbs. The human pulled against the vine with his right hand. This would normally be a bad idea, but the shallow cuts served as weak links to break the chain. As Sabeo pulled his arm, the holes increased in size until eventually causing the vine to snap. With his right arm now free, he moved the tooth down to his left leg. The knife working in tandem with the previous damage from the stomps, he was able to free his leg. Now he was 50% free, but those were the vines he had already weakened. Sabeo pulled with his right leg, tightening the vine while making the thorns dive deeper into his skin. It wouldn't do much, but he just needed it close enough that his knife could reach his ankle. It remained out of reach. Needing any distance he could get, his left hand grasped onto the spiked rope that bound him. The thorns cutting his hand weakened his grip, but he had to power through it. He used the new leverage to pull himself up slightly further, making the knife just able to reach. Meanwhile, the jungle was preparing more vines to contain the prisoner. Sabeo was on a time limit. They moved slowly, relying more on pre-made traps to catch their victims, so the human had just enough time to free himself. Several vines made their way towards him, growing slowly but surely. The knife moved up and down, cutting through the plant. The tooth had dulled with time, but it only needed to weaken the vine. As the greenery surrounded him, and multiple thorns were no more than a meter away, the vine gave in and released his leg. Sabeo was swung away from the surrounding vines, pulled towards the one remaining vine that accidentally saved the prisoner. While it freed him from the surrounding thorns, the sudden movement caused Sabeo to drop his knife. He had no time to waste though. Sabeo was hung multiple feet in the air, suspended by a single vine. 3 down, 1 to go. While moving out the way bought a little more time, it wouldn't take long for him to be in a similar position. The prisoner tried to use his body weight to snap the vine. He made some progress, but it wouldn't be quick enough. Due to a lack of food in Hollow, his weight had greatly decreased since he arrived. But Sabeo had one trick left. He dug his dirty fingernails into the vine. He clawed at it like a rabid creature, each scratch peeling away more of the plant's surface. As it got closer to snapping, the jungle moved below Sabeo, trying to catch him once he fell. Even if he could break free now, he would just be chained once again. The human swung himself back and forth until the vine snapped. Sabeo landed just a few meters away from the encroaching vines. He backed away, losing his knife to the jungle, but at least he was free. Sabeo crawled away from the entangled greenery, his legs too sore to walk properly from both the fall and the cuts. But he saw an exit, one he hadn't marked yet. It was almost invisible if you didn't know what you were looking for. With a deep breath, the human pulled himself up to his feet and walked through the hidden pathway, the vine slowly retracting, accepting that his prey had escaped. Sabeo found himself on a new layer, one he was quite familiar with, Detakor. At a glance it looked like a city, but the buildings made little architectural sense. This place was filled with disease and parasites, but what was most intriguing to Sabeo was a small, creepy doll laying on the floor. There was something strange about this doll, an aura it gave off that was hard to explain. It was unsettling, but had a strange allure. When examined, he saw the initials PS stitched into it, and immediately Sabeo knew what it was. His ticket out of here.